All right, let's take a look at cumulative incidence and point prevalence rates. Now recall the difference between incidence and prevalence. Incidence is our new cases of a certain condition or disease or disability, and prevalence is our existing cases. Okay, so think of that bathtub again. Incidence is the water coming into the bathtub, and prevalence is the water that already exists in that tub. So when we're looking at cumulative incidence, we're only interested in the number of new cases that occurred during the time period we're examining. And when we're looking at point prevalence, we're interested in all existing cases, so new plus old cases, or the ones that were already there. So let's start with cumulative incidence. Cumulative incidence. Okay, and we're looking at syphilis cases that were reported in Illinois in 2016. And we have our total state population here. So we're looking at the entire state as a whole, and 100,000 population is going to be our constant for our rates. Remember that constant is the number of people we're going to express the rate in. And so in this case, we're going to express it per 100,000 persons or population. So for our cumulative incidence, we're looking at new cases divided by the total population, or the total number of people who were at risk during the time period, times our constant. So here we're looking at 2,398 new cases of syphilis divided by our total population of 12,801,539, and then we're going to multiply by our constant of 100,000. Now do keep in mind, if you're plugging this all into your calculator at once, you will want to make sure you have parentheses, otherwise you might get something kind of funky come out of your calculator. So make sure you have your parentheses in place there. And when we plug this into the calculator, our rate comes out to 18.7. Okay, so when we write this out or interpret what this means, it's telling us that there were 18.7 new cases of syphilis per 100,000 persons or population in Illinois in what year? 2016. Okay, so that is our incidence, our cumulative incidence, or the rate of new cases in a specific time period. Cumulative incidence is really looking at how far has this disease spread in a certain amount of time. Now, point prevalence, on the other hand, again, prevalence being our existing cases of a certain disease or condition, is really just interested in how many people have this disease. So we don't really care if it's newly diagnosed or you've had it for a while. We just want to know, how many people have this disease in a certain population. So our point prevalence is going to be existing cases. I'm going to kind of put here new plus old, so we're going to include all cases that exist, divided again by our total population, times our constant. And we're going to use that same constant of 100,000. So if we come back up top here, we can see that our existing cases include the new cases, the 2,398, plus our existing cases already known in that year of 15,916. So both of these numbers are going to be included in our numerator. Our denominator is going to remain the same at our total population of 12.8 million. Okay. And then we're going to multiply by our constant of 100,000. So again, be sure that you have some parentheses in place here, otherwise you might get something kind of funky come out when you start plugging this into your calculator. And once we plug it into our calculator, it comes out to 143.1. Okay, so again, writing out the interpretation, kind of explaining what that means. There was 143.1 existing, or you could also say total cases of syphilis per 100,000 persons or population, whatever you prefer to write, in Illinois, can't spell Illinois, in 2016. Okay. So again, incidence is looking just at the new cases. Prevalence is adding new plus old for all existing cases of that condition. So your numerators in this case are the things that change.